And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
I'm so glad you're here because you can bring great clarity. Can you tell us a little bit about the Sephardic Jews and how they were scattered because they went west?
I sure can.
Because the reason why I want to is because a lot of them, and a lot of people don't know this, are in the Caribbean.
They are.
In the islands.
And you're one of them. I know that.
I'm one of them.
I know that.
Because, a lot of folk don't know that those roots are there. One of the first batches of slaves that came to Jamaica, they were the Sephardic Jews. It's documented.
And they're all over the Caribbean, South America, Central America, and even the South Central United States.
Wow.
And DNA testing is a factor in all this now.
Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you.
Want to say peace and blessings to everyone. Hope all is well with you guys tonight. If you can hear me clearly, just go ahead and type 1 inside the chat. If you cannot hear me, type 2. But if you can hear me clearly, type 1 before we get started here. All right, just looking over here at the chat. Okay. All right, see some of the responses. Great. Well, family, we are going to continue with episode 3. We're going to continue with episode 3 of the resurrection. Tonight, we're going to deal with when was the resurrection. Got a lot to cover tonight. So we're just going to go through the shout outs. I'm going to get to as many as I can, but we're going to get right into the lesson because we have a lot to cover, because I want to keep this within 3 lessons, 3 parts. So we have a lot to cover in this particular lesson. So we're going to do a lot here. We're going to establish what's a year, what constitutes a year, not just within the Israelite culture, the Israelite community, but other communities. We're also going to reconstruct the very first calendar in Israel's history. Their calendar. The Most High said, this is their calendar, their new year. All right. So we have a lot to cover. So let's go ahead and get into it. So let me give a few shout outs here before we get started. I want to say shalom to Jason Camford, excuse me. I want to say shalom to Nicole Jackson, Barbara Jones. I want to say shalom to you. Joy, I want to say peace and blessings to you. Stacy Pullum, I want to say shalom to you. Jay Highstyle, my buddy, want to say peace and blessings to you. My sister Carol, want to say peace and blessings to you. Shalom to you. DJ Brightside. Oh, we got another DJ here. Okay. Want to say peace and blessings to you. Who else do we have here? CB. Want to say peace and blessings to you. Jimmy Gilliam. All praises to the Most High. I want to say peace and blessings to you. Mariah. I want to say peace and blessings to you as well. Dwayne Butler. I want to say peace and blessings to you. Really appreciate you. Thank you for the love and support tonight. Cecilia Reed, want to say shalom to you. Mariah, peace and blessings to you. Lemuria Johnson, want to say peace and blessings to you. Shalom to you. Want to say peace and blessings to Bessie Shah Jahan. All right. Let me make sure I pronounce it correctly. Shah Jahan. All right. So my apologies if I mispronounced your name. All right. Stay on Fire Ministries. Want to say shalom to you. Appreciate the love and support. Let's see here. Charles West, want to say shalom to you or shalom to you. I think I have almost everyone. I think I covered everyone. Veronica, want to say shalom to you. Let's see who else. Did I miss any? Kojo. Mawina Cummings, want to say peace and blessings to you. Let's see here. Major, want to say peace and blessings to you. Let's see. Tia Thompson, peace and blessings to you. Ronnie Yah, want to say shalom to you. Legendary, want to say shalom to you. Tawami Gaddy, want to say shalom to you. Marcus Jones, shalom to you. Devontae Israel, want to say shalom to you as well. AJ Moore, want to say shalom to you. Malka Bat Israel, or Yisrael, excuse me, want to say shalom to you. Tiffany Moore, want to say shalom to you. Well, family, we got a lot to cover. So let me kick it off by let me bring my buddy out here, Afro Thunder, to get this going. I'd like to add a little humor with these lessons because we got a lot to cover. So let me bring out Afro Thunder to really set the tone here.
It's time to dance. It's time to dance. Dance, sucker.
All right. Anyway, had to bring out the Afro Thunder, but we're going to go ahead and get into it. We got a lot to cover. Want to say peace and blessings to Brace Todd. This is his first time on the live. Family, let's show Bryce Todd. Let's show him some love here. Real in there. I like that name. All right, like that play on words. Really appreciate it. Really, real in there. All right, let's give it up to the real in there right here. Let's show him some love here, family. First time on the live. Let's show him some love right here. All right. Appreciate you. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let me maximize the screen. And we're going to set the tone with this passage that I'm getting ready to bring up. Right. Once we go through the commandments, but I want to hone in on a key passage. But let's start with this right here. Let's start with knocking down some additional talking points that we hear from the church, that we hear from Catholicism about the Messiah creating new commandments. So we're going to deal with that because remember what we learned yesterday is that the foundational 10 commandments, right? The foundational 10 commandments, that is the covenant. That is the foundation. Those foundational 10 commandments that was inside the ark, right? Which is the ark of the covenant, right? The covenant, right? The 10 commandments. Without those 10, you don't have a covenant. It's just a blank check. And the Most High never gave Israel a blank check. We also covered yesterday, and I encourage you guys, if you're watching this presentation and you did not watch lesson 1, please go back and watch lesson 1, because lesson 1, I cover a lot. I give you sources proving that the changing, or should I say the acknowledgement of the supposed Christian Sabbath was instituted by the Roman Catholic Church, right? Well before the Protestants. We also covered Constantine as well, as far as giving some sources about the edict that he put in place. But I encourage you guys to watch that lesson because we covered a lot, right? But this lesson today, in the initial lesson, we covered dabar. This lesson, we're going to cover another word that transliterates to commandment, right? And as you see here, you see tazawa, or in the Israeli language, tsawa, right? But did the Messiah, did he change or did he add any new commandments? And we're going to give proper clarity as we set the tone here. Did Hamashiach change the Shabbat? Let's start with the Hebrew definition of commandment, right? Tazawa, and I'm pronouncing it in the ancient Hebrew. So tazawa or tsawa, it reads, it says to constitute, appoint, command, commander, commandment. And then we also see in order, set in order. Right, so really think about when you think about the commandments, right? Think about the Most High put these in place to set things in order. And we see that the Most High established order from the very beginning. All right, so again, to constitute, appoint. We can also see here charge, command, commander, commandment, right? We have in order, set in order. So did Hamashiach, did he change the commandments? Did he change the commandments? Did he create some new commandments? No, he did not create a new commandment or two new commandments, which many within the church would refer to as if they are new commandments. So this is a popular verse many within the church used in an attempt to justify their belief that the Hebrew Israelite Messiah, that Hamashiach, changed or created two new commandments. Let's go to John chapter 13, verse 34. And it says here, a new commandment. Right? See, they see this and they'll run with it. Remember, we learned yesterday the Hebrew word chadash, right, means renew, to make anew. Right? So a new commandment, right? That word new is a word of confusion. A new commandment I give you, or I give unto you, that ye also love one another as I have loved you, that ye also love one another. Now, family, is this a new commandment? Is this a new commandment? Up until this point, when the Messiah spoke these words, did he create a new commandment? We are going to give proper clarity. So again, new commandment I give unto you. And the Hebrew word there is chadash, right? So did Hamashiach change the commandments? Did he create a new commandment? No. Let's go to Matthew chapter 22, verse 37 to put things in its proper perspective, right? Now, I want y'all to pay attention here. Now, I didn't put the additional verses here, but I want you to see here on your screen. It says here, then one of them was a lawyer, right? In other words, we're dealing with a scribe, asked him a question, tempting him, saying, Master, which is the great commandment of the law? So this is not a conversation of saying, asking the Messiah to replace any of the laws or do away with any of the laws, but they were trying to say or ask him the question of what is the greatest out of all the commandments? What is the greatest out of all the law within the law of Moses? What is the greatest? What's the greatest out of all the commandments? Or what is the greatest of the law? What is the greatest out of all? Right. So this is a lawyer, a scribe, trying to trick the Messiah. That's what this conversation is about. But notice what the Messiah is saying. He didn't write new commandments. He didn't disregard the others. But notice his response here. Yahushua said unto him, thou shalt love Yahweh, thy Elohim, with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment, right? And this sums it up when we go through the 10 commandments. But the Messiah saying, hey, love the Most High. This is the great. This is the first and great commandment. The first and great commandment. Then when he continues on in verse 39, and the second is like unto it, that thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these 2 commandments hang all the law and the prophets. Now, there's not a single line of text, as we see here, proving that the Messiah never created a new law. He did not create a new law here. He's not quoting new commandments. He's actually giving clarity. He's saying that he mentioned the 2 great commandments, love the Father and also love thy neighbor as thyself. But he didn't stop there. He said, on these 2 commandments hang all the law and the prophets. In other words, when he referred to the law here, he's referring to the first 5 books of your Bible, of the Bible that you have, which may be categorized as the Pentateuch or the law of Moses, right? So those first 5 books, that's what he's referring to. He said in this entire first 5 books of the Bible, saying we'll teach these 2 key principles: to love the Father and love one another. But it didn't stop there. It says, and the prophets. So the law and the prophets. You'll see this quote also in Matthew chapter 5. You'll see this quote used a number of times. You'll see it in the book of Acts, as Paul confirmed the Messiah by way of what? The law and the prophets, right? So this is the label or the term for the canonization of the text at that time. So the law and the prophets, right? So on these 2 commandments hang all the law and the prophets. In other words, hinges, right? We also can go to the dalath, which means a lid, right? Door, right? But anyway, on these 2 commandments hang all the law and the prophets. So guess what? The Messiah did not create new laws, as we read, as many would try to or make an attempt to default to John's testimony. All right. So did Hamashiach change the Shabbat? No. Right. We proved that last night. All right. So what's special about the 3rd day? Right. What is special about the 3rd day? What is special about the 3rd day? I have plenty of scriptures I can pull out, but let's deal with this particular 3rd day just for the sake of time. I put one of the texts as far as verses here to deal with this. What's special about this day, as this is going to help give us, the foundation is going to give us the layout. All right, here we go. This is going to really set the tone. I encourage you guys to go to Hosea, or make a note of Hosea, chapter 6, verse 1 and 2. Because, the church, right, they have a problem here. And the problem is, How can you squeeze 72 hours into a day and a half? It just won't work. You can't. Yesterday, I proved that Constantine was the one that created Good Friday. So how can you acknowledge that in your doctrine, your theology, right? In your theology, that the Messiah, just before evening on Friday, right? He was lynched, gave up his spirit, and then well before the Miriams made it to the sepulcher, because it says he was already gone, right? He was already gone by the time they got there, right? So from Friday evening, right, to just before evening to Sunday morning, or the first day of the week, early Sunday morning, or should we say early first day of the week, right? The twilight, right, as we're transitioning into the light portion of the day. So we're looking at about a day and a half. It just will not happen. You can't get it. It's not going to happen, family. So then that's when they have to go into trying to bend and twist the scriptures. In the Greek, you get the word anomia, which means transliterates to iniquity. It means to bend. It means to twist. It means to transgress the law. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into this verse here. These set of passages here. Not going to go too deep, but I want to set the tone with this here. Hosea chapter 6, verse 1 and 2. Come, let us return, Shawab, unto Yahweh, for he hath torn, right? Tarap, and he will heal. Rapa'ah, us, he hath smitten, and he will bind. Kabash, us up. Right? Notice what it says. Come, let us reason unto Yahweh, for he hath torn, and he will heal. Us, he hath smitten, and he will bind us up. But it didn't stop there. Let's go to verse 2. It says, after 2 days, he revive us. Chaya. After 2 days, he revive us. And the third day, right? Shall Yashai, right? Day he will raise up Quam, and we shall live Chaya in his sight. Panai. Let me read it one more time. After 2 days he will revive us. Chaya, and the third day, Shalai Shai, or Shala, Shala Yashai. All right. If you just pronounce every letter as a syllable, or again, it'll be, or you could pronounce it Shal Yashai. Right. But anyway, Day Yawam, he will raise us up, Quam, and we shall live, Chaya, in his sight. Doesn't this sound like a resurrection here? Doesn't this sound like a resurrection? Correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't this sound like a resurrection here? Doesn't this sound like 3 days? Doesn't this sound familiar here to some of you guys? It should sound very familiar, right? The third day is very important. It's very important. All right? It's very important. I'll read it one more time. After 2 days, he will revive Chaya, us, in the third day, Shalai Shai, or Shala Yashai, day he will raise us up, Quam, and we shall live Chaya in his sight. Doesn't this sound familiar, family? So 3 days is not anything new to the Israelites. This is not something new, right? This is part of confirming the Torah, right? Just confirming Torah. What happened here? All right. I thought that my screen is acting up here on my end. My apologies, family. Having some technical difficulties. All right. So my screen flashing in and out. So if you hear me hesitate, it's because on my end, for some reason, the StreamYard is flashing in and out. All right. But anyway, I just want to set the tone with this verse. Okay. But let's continue to build on it. What is the meaning of resurrection? What is the meaning of resurrection? And we're going to break this down. Let's start with the Greek definition of resurrection. Let's see what it means, right? We see anastasis, right? It means a standing up, raised to life again, rising again. Let's try it again. Standing up again, right? We see here a resurrection from death, but here's the key: recovery, raised to life again, rising again. That's resurrection in the Greek. But guess what? Let's go to it in the Hebrew, because we have to understand this from the Hebraic school of thought. So resurrection, anastasis, means standing up again, recovery, raised to life again. But in the Hebrew word for resurrection, right? And we're going to give some additional words that's synonymous to resurrection. You see, chaya, as I'm read in Hosea chapter 6, verse 1 and 2. Let's see what chaya means. It means to revive. It means to give life, give promised life, recover, repair, restore, restore to life, revive, be whole. This is important, family. This is the proper understanding of resurrection. What's sad is we as a group of people, we've been deceptively taught incorrectly about the resurrection. See, our ancestors were taught that, hey, you know what? Look forward to dying in order for things to get better. Look forward to the resurrection after you die. Family, the resurrection starts right now. Your decision basically right now is on what side of eternity you're going to live. What side of eternity you're going to be. Resurrection starts now. You can confirm this with Ezekiel chapter 37. You can confirm it. Resurrection, to be revived. Can these bones be what? Revived. Dealing with who? The Israelites, the whole house of Israel, who was confused, was in a state of confusion. And we're in a state of confusion right now that we are waking up. We are being revived. Why? Because we are coming to the understanding of who we are. So now we were lost, a lost group of people, but now we are what? Many of us are now being found, while others choose to take this truth, reject the truth, and get into the status of falling away. So chaya, to revive, give life, give promised life, recover, repair, restore, revive, be whole. So family, that's what it means to be revived. You don't have to die a physical death for your life to be resurrected, for you to be revived, for you to be restored. And you also see where it says be whole. Remember, the woman with the issue of blood, she touched the fringes of the Messiah, and she was what? Healed. And she was also what? Made whole. In other words, every aspect of her life was restored, was healed. Not just her healing in her body, but her relationship with her loved ones. Also, she was able to go into the temple. She didn't have to worry about being labeled because of her issues with her blood being declared unclean. So every aspect of her life was made whole again. All right. So resurrection means to restore to life. It means to revive. The Hebrew word is chaya. And we know being restored to life is not a New Testament thing. It's not something that started in the New Testament. New Testament. I'm just, for the sake of the discussion, I'm going to use the word New Testament because I don't like using that term, right? That label, right? I default to the renewed covenant, or we could call it the testimonies of the disciples, because we know that again, the what many call the Old Testament is, I refer to it as the established covenant or the law and the prophets. We know that there was a calculated attack to separate what is called the law and the prophets from the testament of the disciples and the letters of the apostle Paul. And of course, the other letters that's associated with what they try to make into a canonization, along with the so-called apostolic letters, or the books of the so-called Christian or Catholic church fathers, early church fathers. That's the original canonization that they sought to do, right? They didn't want to include the law and the prophets with that. Had they not included that, then Christianity, or should we say Catholicism, would only be a couple of centuries older than Islam. So they needed to use the Torah and the prophets to use that as a bridge to give this impression that Christianity, Catholicism, is an older religion per se. All right. So I don't want to go too much further into that, because that's a whole nother discussion, which I did teach on that, but I'm not going to go don't want to go too far into that. But here we go. Let me go ahead. Right. So the key words in understanding resurrection. Now, here's the key to understanding resurrection. Chaya. Let's go to the Etymology Dictionary definition of resurrection. Right. Start with restoration. Right. We start with this word restoration. So restoration, it means renewing of something lost. Let me say that again. Restoration means renewing of something lost. Restoration again means renewing of something lost. Then when we go to restore, because it sent us to restore, it says this: to build up again, repair, rebuild, renew. Doesn't this sound familiar? Doesn't this sound like the Hebrew definition of Kadash? This is why you hear many refer to the New Testament per se as the renewed covenant. Jeremiah 31, the renewed covenant. And this is not just among this awakening. Many Christian theologians refer to the New Testament as the renewed covenant. So don't get twisted. Don't think that this is only towards the awakening. Don't allow these people that's trying to badmouth this awakening, that's trying to slander and throw shade on this awakening. Don't let them fool you to thinking that this is just us. No, this is not just us, right? Renewed. So remember, resurrection, because we're going to deal with when we get to that point. We're almost there. We're going to deal with the key. So restore, to build up again, repair, rebuild, renew, make or be firm. So restore means to build up again, repair, rebuild, renew. So let's go to the Etymology Dictionary of this word forming prefix. Let's see what's the key. Whenever you see gives you an understanding of what it means, the intentions of the full word. Notice what it says. Word forming element, meaning back to the original place. So when we see for resurrection, restore, right? Renew. When you see this word the whole intent is to, in a nutshell, back to the original place. Again, anew, once more, but also with a sense of undoing. So if we want to be renewed, can these bones be revived? Guess what? We have to undo a lot of things that was placed on us, the weights that was placed on us. And truth be told, the religious system of Catholicism, the religious system of Christianity, the religious system of Islam, the religious system of Hinduism. It's a number of religious systems, and also Freemasonry. Freemasonry is a religion. It's a smorgasbord, but ultimately, when you look at the foundation of it, it's going to lead you right into worshiping or practicing the Kabbalah. But in order to be completely resurrected, to be revived, we have to be willing to what? Undo some things in order to get right back to the original place. So meaning get back to the original place, undoing. So restoring of life did not start in the renewed covenant. Let me say that again. The restoration of life did not start with the renewed covenant. We have plenty of examples that we could point out in what many would call the Old Testament, but I refer to it as the established covenant. 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 5. Notice what you see here. And it came to pass as he was telling the king how he had restored, right? Restored. We just dealing with this word, right? Restore. Chaya, restored a dead body to life, that behold, the woman whose son he had restored to life, Chaya, cried to the king for her house and for her land. And Gehazi said, my lord, O king, this is the woman, and this is her son. So we see that the prophet Elisha restored to life, right, the woman that helped her. And we see it here. We see it here. Chaya. So resurrection, chaya, means to restore to life. It means to revive, right? So now let's go into the resurrection for us to prophecy, right? I could give you more examples of resurrection being, already there prior to the renewed covenant, in which many label the New Testament. I could give you plenty of additional examples, but we're just going to use that one example. But now let's deal with Mashiach's prophecy of his resurrection, of him being restored. Let's go to Matthew chapter 12, verse 39. Let's see what he says here. But he answered and said it to them, an evil and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign. In other words, you see here, and there shall no sign be given to it, but the sign of the prophet Jonas. Right? Family, don't sit here trying to prove anything to anyone, because many of them want you to give them a sign. Prove to me, give me proof, evidence. That's what sign means. It means proof. It means evidence. They want you to give them proof. They want you to give them evidence that you are who you are. You don't have to give them any of that. Right? You have the proof, you have the signs, you have the evidence, you have the word, you have historical history, and many of you have done your DNA. You have all of these signs. So you don't have to try to take your signs and present it to those that you know is going to reject you, that's going to walk on your pearls, right? Like the swine, they just walk over your pearls, trample over it. No, don't do that, family. We don't have to prove who we are to anyone. Right? So anyway, but he answered and said it to them, an evil and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign. Doesn't that sound familiar? You have a group of wicked people trying to mask and hide behind the scriptures, trying to pretend that they're holy, trying to pretend that they're righteous, so busy slandering our community, but yet they want us to give them a sign to prove who we are, to prove who we are. And that's what the Messiah was being told to do. He was being asked to give them a sign. But he says, and there shall no sign be given to it, but the sign Only one sign they're going to see, but the sign of the prophet Jonas, right? Verse 40, for as Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights, wait a minute, 3 days, 3 nights, right? All the other scriptures, have y'all ever noticed all the other scriptures like 40 days and 40 nights, as far as it raining for 40 days, 40 nights? Notice you don't hear them arguing about 40 days being an entire 40 days. In other words, 40 days and 40 nights being a full 40-day, 24-hour cycle. Notice you don't hear them trying to make that into an allegory. You don't hear them trying to use any other text that deals with days and nights. They don't try to make that into an allegory. But the key sign that we highlighted in lesson number 1, that is the Shabbat, right? The sign that the Most High had made for his people. The resurrection was made for his people. This particular sign of the Messiah being resurrected on the Shabbat was given to his people, because that's a promise. He said it'd be between us and him forever. And this is a key sign. I can give you some other signs, especially when you start going into Exodus chapter 19, and you go all the way up to 24. You see some incredible signs that was done on the Shabbat, right? But anyway, right here, the Messiah said 3 days and 3 nights. This is not an allegory. This is not a metaphor. The Messiah is giving 3 days, a full, if we want to say 24-hour cycle, whatever you want to say. Some of you guys, some people give different classifications or whatever. I'm not getting into that, but whatever cycle you want to use, we know that when we see that this represents a full cycle, right? A full cycle, full 24 hour in a day cycle. Some would say 10 hours, not get into all of that. All right. So again, for Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. Goes on to say, right? Oh, I thought I put additional text there, but we'll get there. So what day was Hamashiach's? What day was his life restored? What day was he restored to life? Right? We're going to answer that question. But we're not going to just give a simple answer, because I gave you the answer, but I want to walk you through. I want to really walk you through. What day was Hamashiach up again? How important is it to know this information? It's very important, though. Hamashiach being raised up again is very important to the restoration of the hope, the restoration of hope to a dead people. And we are considered a dead people. And the Messiah said he came to restore hope to us. We're the only people. And I know I keep saying this, I have to reiterate this. We are the only people in this country that have to have a law. They create a law to tell us how we can wear our hair. They create a law, tell us how we to dress. Create a law to say our skin complexion is okay. Create a law to say that, okay, you don't have to worry about lynching. Create a law saying that you never have to worry about another knee to the back of your neck. Created a law to try to do away with Jim Crow. Create a law to try to do away with the indentured, not the indentured, I'm trying to think of the other act, right? I can't think of the act that the Fugitive Act, right? Come up with all kinds of laws that only our community has to deal with. No other community have to deal with what we have to deal with. We are viewed as a group of people that have no value. But the Messiah said he's coming to what? He come to restore salvation, restore the hope, restore the value, make our people become salvageable and presentable in the eyes of the Most High, restores them to all nations, right? That's Zechariah chapter 3. The same people that mock us will be the same people that celebrate us. The same people that have created all kinds of blackface and all those. These nations going to be the same nations that the Most High is going to use to restore our heritage, to restore our reputation. So what is a day? And when did it start according to the scriptures? Now, we dealt with the definition of day yesterday, right? Yawam can be a 24-hour cycle. Yawam can be the hottest point of the day or the light portion of the day, right? The high point, the hottest point, right? It can also be a lifetime, as we covered, a period of time. But what is a day in the text that we highlighted? And when did it start according to scripture? What is a day? When does it start according to scripture? We went through this, but here's a refresher. Genesis chapter 1, verse 5. And I'm going to let you read and let you see it on your screen, and you'll get the answers here. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. Wait, let's see it again. The evening, Arab, and the morning, right? Bakar were the first day. Let me say it again. And Elohim called the light, right? Remember, Awar set on fire, right? Called the light day, and the darkness he called night. Yala, ya, la, ya. Right? And the evening and morning were the first day. Now let's go to Leviticus chapter 23, verse 32. We're going to get an idea of a full 24-hour cycle here. And it shall be unto you a Shabbat of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls. This is not this Catholic stuff of taking out the cat of nine tails and whipping, and that's not what this, not telling us to mutilate ourselves. This is telling us to, this is fasting, right? This is denying our flesh from the things that our flesh may desire, right? In the 9th day of the month of evening, from evening unto evening, right? So this is a full 24-hour cycle. Ye shall celebrate your Shabbat. So evening to evening, right? During the night portion, as well as during the day portion or the light portion of the day, a full 24-hour cycle. Okay. How many hours are in a day, right? How many hours are in a day, right? Because I have to just go through the text this way, right? Because when we deal with many of our brothers and sisters in the church and Roman Catholicism, they will give you the illusion that when you're reading the scriptures where it says 3 days and 3 nights, that it doesn't mean 3 days and 3 nights. It means a day and a half. Now, I don't know about you. When you take 3 days off, if you take 3 days of vacation, you don't really mean to take a day and a half, right? If you're taking 3 days of vacation, right? Let's just say you're taking the weekend off, right? You're going to take the weekend off plus an additional day. Let's just say you decided to take Friday off, or let's just say you decide to take Monday off. Once you complete your work day, right, and you're supposed to be off the next 3 days, you're not looking to come back to your workplace on Sunday, the first day of the week. No, if you are off the next 3 days, you are looking to come back to your workplace on that Tuesday. You're looking to what? Take that Saturday, that full 24-hour cycle of Saturday, that full 24-hour cycle of the first day of the week, the full 24-hour cycle of the second day of the week. No, you're not looking to go there early. Does that make sense, family? But this is the delusion that is being taught. So how many hours in a day? Now, I know our children can answer this with clarity. Did Hamashiach know the number of hours in a day? Did he know how many hours in a day? I know this sounds like I'm really, It could be sounding insulting to some, but I have to get this, go to this level of detail just to with scripture to make sure we understand that in the text, our ancient relatives, our ancestors understood how to tell time. All right. So let me answer this question. John chapter 11, verse 9 and 10. Notice what it says. And Yahushua answered, are there not 12 hours in the day? Now, he's not referring to a full 24-hour cycle. He is referring to the light portion of the day, right? From the time that the light portion of the day transitions from which we would say Bakar, which would be the early morning, that the dusk, to the Arab when it gets ready to transition to the night portion of that 24-hour cycle when we call evening. All right. So he's referring, say, are there not 12 hours in the day? If any man walk in the day, he stumbleth not, because he see light of this world, because it's saying that, hey, he see the light. So he's not going to stumble. But notice what it says. Now it's giving you another portion of the day. But if a man walk in the night, he stumbleth, because there is no light in him. But he still using a full 24-hour cycle, using this as an analogy of what it means to walking in the truth and seeing what the light of the truth. But are there not 12 hours in the day? That's the morning portion, the light portion of the day, 24-hour cycle. But if a man walk in the night, he stumbleth, because there is no light in him. So Hamashiach understood time. How many days are there in 72 hours? How many days in 72 hours? Well, let's go back to the scriptures. John chapter 2, verse 19 through 21. Again, Yahushua answered and said unto them, destroy this temple, in 3 days I will raise it up. He's dealing with a full 24-hour cycle here. Then said the Israelites, Yahweh Judah, 46 years was this temple in building, and wilt thou rear it up in 3 days? But he spake of the temple of his body. See, sometimes people could be so deep that they just on the surface. So deep that they're on the surface. See, they didn't even catch the Messiah is not referring to this temple, this structure, even though we know that the temple, he prophesied of the temple being destroyed, but he wasn't referring to that building. He was referring to his body being resurrected, his body being restored. Kaya. That's what he's referring to. And that's how a lot of people, especially when we're dealing with those that really don't have the Holy Spirit, see, they so busy trying to be argumentative, with you and me and others, that they completely miss the point. They completely miss the point. So the Messiah was referring to his temple, his body. Family, your body, that's the temple, right? Your body is the ark. And when the Most High circumcised your heart, now your body become what? The Ark of the Covenant. Now your body become what? The presence is to become the physical presence of the Most High dwelling among us. Anyway, so when is the 9th hour? When is the 9th hour? Let me ask that question again. When is the 9th hour? Let's answer this question. When is the 9th hour? Let's go to Matthew chapter 27, verse 46 and 47. About the 9th hour, Yahushua cried with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. Now we're going to give clarity on this here, because some teach that this is right here. When you see sabach, they're saying that this is making reference to Sabbath keepers. And we're going to get proper clarity with this right here. And I'm going to use the actual verse that the Messiah is quoting here. So about the ninth hour, Yahushai, some of you guys would say Yahushua, not getting into all of that. About the ninth hour, cried with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Some of them that stood there, when they heard that, said, this man calleth for Elias. Let's go to Mark chapter 15, verse 34 through 35. Let's see what it says here. And at the ninth hour, Yahushua cried with a loud voice, saying, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, which is being interpreted, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Now, the reason why I'm in a habit of bringing up at least two sources, because Deuteronomy chapter 17 and also Deuteronomy chapter 19 tells us in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, that's how you establish and confirm the truth. The Messiah always sent out his disciples at least in twos. All right. So when you are going into this text, or if you're teaching, whatever you're teaching, you always have 2 witnesses to support what you're teaching. Right. Use the proper biblical hermeneutics. Don't try to come up with an idea and then you try to make the text bend to whatever ideas you have. That's not proper biblical hermeneutics. Right. But anyway, not getting into all of that, but just want to encourage you guys. Always refer to 2 or 3 witnesses. If you're going to say Paul did away with the law, guess what? You have to confirm this with the other disciples. Let's see if the other disciples confirm what many are trying to say Paul taught. But anyway, let's get back into it. The 22nd book of Psalms, verse 1. Let's go here. Let's see what it says. Notice what it says. My God, Alai, right? Or Alaya, but you can pronounce it if you drop the ha, the last ah rather, excuse me. It'll be pronounced Alai, why hast thou forsaken me? And this is the Hebrew word you see there, Izabathanai. Now, where do you get Sabbath keepers? Alai, lama Izabathanai. This is the ancient Hebrew pronunciation of what you saw in the book of Matthew, right? In the book of Mark. This is the actual ancient Hebrew expression of that. I'll read it one more time. Alai, lama Izabathanai. I don't see anything that says Shabbat. Unless they're trying to make this Zion into Shan, or this is what they're saying is another pronunciation of Shabbat. But this is not Shabbat here, right? Alai, lama Izabathanai. That's the proper ancient Hebrew pronunciation of what the Messiah said while he was being lynched. All right. So, key to understanding the biblical hours. Right now, I'm going to go a little geek mode on you guys, but just bear with me. Follow me on this. And I'm going to show you some of the importance of understanding ancient Hebrew. When I say ancient Hebrew, the label is also referred to as Paleo. I'm not referring to this Israeli language, and I'm not referring to the Syriac block letters. I'm referring to the Hebrew that Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, when we go to Moses, Maresha, during that generation, we're going to go to the Hebrew that they wrote, not this Hebrew that we see today. So what you see on your screen is a sundial, the Qumran sundial. And I'm getting ready to go a little geek mode on you, but trust me, you are going to understand as we progress, because you see this sundial. I'm going to show you that there's a letter that's going to show you how to tell time. Everything that you see in the law and the prophets, guess what? You can teach with each letter. So the Qumran sundial, right? The Qumran sundial, right? The identification of the object as a sundial was based on a publication of the Shrine of the Book in Jerusalem, where most of the intact Dead Sea Scrolls are kept. This supposed sundial was found at the same time as the ancient scrolls, and at first archaeologists thought it was a simply stone disc. It was simply a stone disc. It was locked away in a vault until recently being discovered, where it was found to be a sundial. Although previous timekeeping methods and charts were found at the Qumran site, the discovery of this small sundial provides further evidence of the Qumran interest in the measurement of time. So this is a sundial right here. And this sundial gives you the full cycle of the day portion and the night portion, right? The full 24-hour cycle. Okay. Let's go to another one. This particular dial is referred to the dial of Ahaz. The dial of Ahaz. Now pay attention to how this sundial appear, because I'm going to show you an ancient letter that gives you and gives you an indicator of how to tell time. Right? The dial of Ahaz. 2 Kings, right? Chapter 20, verse 8 through 11. And Hezekiah said unto Isaiah, what shall be the sign that Yahweh will heal me? Right? And that I shall go up into the house of Yahweh. Notice this, the third day, right? A lot of blessings, a lot of signs on the third day, right? And Isaiah said, this sign, wait a minute, on the third day, right, will be a sign. This sign, this proof, this evidence, this sign shalt thou have of Yahweh, that Yahweh will do the thing that he hath spoken, shall the shadow go forward 10 degrees. Now he's saying that shadow, in other words, time is going to go forward 10 degrees, right? The number 10, the 10th letter of the Hebrew Aleph Bayath is the Yod, which means redemption. It means redeem, redemption, outstretched arms. So the shadow shall go forward 10 degrees or go back 10 degrees. And Hezekiah answered, it is a light thing for the shadow to go down 10 degrees. Nay, but let the shadow return backwards. He's saying it's an easy thing to have time speed up. But show me the time going backwards. Show me time going back 10 degrees, 10 hours. And Isaiah the prophet cried unto Yahweh, and he brought the shadow 10 Ishar degrees backward, by which it had gone down in the dial, right? Ma'alwath of Ahaz, Akaz. So we see the dial here, and we see that Israel is using a sundial to tell time. The Israelites knew how to tell time. The ancient Israelites knew how to tell time. But let me not stop here. This is the letter, right? The Qap. This is the letter that is a sundial. Let me show you. Let's turn this. We're going to turn this letter around, right? This letter, right? Qap, circle, horizon, balance. That's what this letter means. Circle, horizon. Because if you turn this, adjust this just 45 degrees clockwise, this is going to look like a horizon. So this letter means circle, horizon, balance. Numerical value is 100. And there you have the ancient pictograph, right, of this letter. Looks like a sunset, right? So let's use this letter as a sundial. Doesn't it look like a sundial now? Doesn't it look like the dial of Ahaz? Don't you see that it's all in the letters, family? You won't see this in the Israeli language because of the way that the letters are being modified and changed. But it's clear right here that this is a sundial. It is clear. When the Most High revealed this to me in all my studies, I was like, that's a sundial. Now let's tell time. Let's use this particular letter to tell time, right? And as you see, the 9th hour is 3 p.m. on the Gregorian calendar. That's what we read in the text. So this is the 9th hour. But on the Gregorian calendar, it would be 3 p.m., right? So 3 hours ahead, so to speak. So 9th hour would be equivalent to 3 p.m., or actually 6 hours ahead, rather, on the Gregorian calendar. So let's go to Luke chapter 23, verse 44. That's why I like giving visuals. And it was about the 6th hour, and there was a darkness over all the earth until the 9th hour. And the sun was darkened, and the veil of the temple was rent in the midst. Right? So it was about the 6th hour. The 6th hour is 12 noon. Remember, a 6-hour difference, right? So let's give you an illustration. Notice what you see here. The 6th hour, right? Which is 12 noon on the Gregorian calendar. But notice the points of the day. This is the high point of the day portion of the day, right? Which would be called Yawam. This portion, which would be the transition of going from night to the day portion of the day, which would be called Bakar. The evening would be Arab, which these two are transitional points of the day, or should we say the 24-hour cycle. Okay, so remember, 6 hours gap between the two. So the 6th hour is 12 noon on the Gregorian calendar. So what time did Hamashiach give up his spirit? Shortly after the 9th hour, which would be shortly after 3 p.m. Luke chapter 23, verse 44 and 45. Notice what it says. And it was about the 6th hour, and there was a darkness over all the earth until the 9th hour. And the sun was darkened, and the veil of the temple was rent in the midst. In other words, split down the middle. Verse 46. And when Yahushua had cried with a loud voice, he said, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. And having said thus, he gave up the spirit. So Hamashiach's death was shortly after the 9th hour. So if we go back to our dial here, right? This is our sundial. Now notice how we see it here. Let me give you the illustration, right? The 9th hour, right? The 6th hour, the 9th hour. So just past the 9th hour is when the Messiah gave up his spirit. So this is the time frame. So we would have to count 3 full 24-hour cycles to get back to this point, and it will not take you to the first day of the week. So why was there a sense of urgency in taking the Messiah down from the cross? Why was there a sense of urgency of taking the Messiah down from the cross before the evening? So you had a short window from the 9th hour to evening. You had this short window just after the 9th hour, the short window to get the Messiah down off of that tree, get him off that cross, or the entire land would be cursed. All right, here's the sense of urgency. Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 22 and 23. It says, and if a man have committed a sin worthy of death, right? Because according to the accusations of the Messiah, towards the Messiah, he was accused of blasphemy because they asked him if he was one with the Father, if he is the Son of the Most High, if he's the Messiah. And he said, yes. He said, me and the Father are what? One. Greek is hais, which means together. And in Hebrew, akkad, which means together. We are one. That's why he had to tell Philip, when you see me, you see who? The Father. So why are you asking to see the Father? Because the Messiah made it clear that he's standing in proxy of the Father. So, and if a man have committed a sin worthy of death, and he be to be put to death, and thou hang him on a tree, his body shall not remain all night upon the tree, but thou shalt in any wise bury him that day. For he that is hanged is accursed of Allahayim, that thy hand be not defiled, which Yahweh Allahayim giveth thee for an inheritance. So we're not supposed to allow anyone to remain on the tree, hung. Guess what? This country and other countries are cursed, right? Because this is lynching. The Messiah was lynched. Now, let me make this clear. The lynching, right, is the entire process. The hanging is the conclusion of the process. Like many of our ancestors, right, when they were lynched, right, they were raped, they were sodomized, there were all kinds of brutalities that they were subjected to. And then the conclusion of the lynching, they hung many of them. They burned many of them. They did all kinds of heinous crimes to our ancestors. So the Messiah was lynched. And just like the Messiah, it said no servant is greater than the master. So guess what? He was lynched. The disciples were lynched. We, as a people, have been lynched. This is how we can identify who's who, family. So again, the Messiah was lynched. And because of how the United States, what this country has done to our people, right? There's an accountability. There's a price that has to be paid. Because in this country, our people continue to be lynched. You see George Floyd, you see Ahmaud Arbery, you see Breonna Taylor, you see the sister down in Texas. She just mysteriously died inside under police custody, being pulled over for a simple speeding ticket. Those are just the incidents that made it to the light. Anyway. So what day was the resurrection? He's not here. All right. Let's do a historical key reminder. Constantine created Good Friday. This is coming from the history of the church, right? It says here, and at the same time enjoined the observance of Friday in memory of the death of the Messiah. So the Messiah was not hung. He was not lynched on Friday. We'll deal with that later on. But I want to make that clear. That teaching comes from Constantine. So, and at the same time enjoined the observance of Friday in memory of the death of the Messiah. So the Messiah's prophecy of his resurrection. Let's deal with that, right? Matthew chapter 12, verse 39. But he answered and said unto them, an evil and adulterous generation, going right back to here, seeketh after a sign, and there shall no sign be given to it, but the sign of the prophet Jonas. For as Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights, see, the Messiah is making it clear, this is not an allegory, this is not a metaphor, this is not a idiom. The Messiah is making it clear that this is a 3-day full 24-hour cycle, night and day cycle. Seeking a sign from Yahweh is not a sin. Let me say that again. Seeking a sign or signs from the Most High is not a sin. What makes it a sin is your intentions, right? So it's the motives behind those seeking signs that make it a sin. So how can we reconstruct the Hebrew calendar? I know we're giving a lot, right? Now we're getting ready to go into reconstructing the Hebrew calendar as we map, and I give you proof of the time that the Messiah began, the lynching began of our Messiah to his resurrection. to him being revived, right? To giving you clarity, even with the process. When we look at Hosea, right? Hawashai, right? The ancient pronunciation of it, chapter 6, verse 1 and 2. So when you want to really think about the process of how the Messiah was restored, that gives you an idea. All right, thought I heard something outside. I'm in the country, family, so I'm hearing all kinds of sounds outside. Sorry for the pause if you haven't heard some of the sounds of the wildlife out there. But anyway, how can we reconstruct the Hebrew calendar? How can we reconstruct the Hebrew calendar? Let me show you. It starts with understanding the 360-day calendar. Family, I know many use the Book of Jubilees as a source, because in the Book of Jubilees, it lists 364 days in a year. Then some will make reference to the Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch has 354 days listed. But I'm going to make it clear. I'm going to give you a couple of sources here. One key source, that the ancient Israelites and other ancient cultures had a 360-day calendar, a 360-day, 12-month with 30 days within it calendar. All right. So let's get into it. There were over 30 cultures around the world that used 360-day year with 12 30-day months, right? 360-day calendar with the Hindus. Let's go to this source here. This is a great source. Velikovsky Emmanuel, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, Velikovsky. All right, I'm going to drop this source inside the chat for those that are interested in going further into going deeper into your studies. And you may want to purchase this source here. It has some great information. I have other sources I can use for calendars, but this is a simple source to get you started, to confirm what I am getting ready to share with you. So let me get this link, and I'm going to drop it in the comment section. All right, for you guys. Let's see here. All right. Let me do it real quick. All right, I'm going to drop this source. All right, so I'm dropping the source, family. I know I'm sharing some high-level information with you. I'm not trying to make money. I've been told over and over again I should put all of this in the book. I've literally been told that I should not be sharing some detailed teachings like this. I can make a lot of money off of this, and I'm not here to make money, right? But this is the source that I'm using that I'm going to read from. All right, here we go. And right now we're going to deal with the Hindus, right? Hinduism, right? The texts of the Veda period know a year of only 360 days. All Veda texts speaks uniformly and exclusively of a year of 360 days. Passages in which this length of the year is directly stated are found in the Brahmanas. It is striking that the Vedas nowhere mention an intercalary period, and while repeatedly stating that the year consists of 360 days, nowhere refer to 5 or 6 days that actually are part of the solar year. The Hindu year of 360 days is divided into 12 months of 30 days. So this is giving you clarity of with the Hindus. Now we're going to deal with the Persians. It's more I can highlight, but just going to do some of the ones that you're familiar with. The ancient Persian year was composed of 360 days or 12 months or 30 days each. In the 7th century, 5 Gotha days were added to the calendar. In the Bundahes, which is a sacred book of the Persians, the 180 successive appearances of the sun from the winter solstice, remember we talked about that yesterday, to the summer solstice, and from the summer solstice to the next winter solstice are described in these words. So it's basically, in a nutshell, we see in here, it says there are 180 apertures, Rogan, in other words, Rogan in the east, and a 180 in the west, in the sun every day. So this is dealing with, when you deal with 180 plus 180, that's 360. All right. Then we see the Babylonians, 360-day calendar. Right. The old Babylonian year was composed of 360 days. The astronomical tablet from the period antedating the Neo-Babylonian Empire compute the year was a year at so many days without mention of additional days. That the ancient Babylonian year had only 360 days was known before cuneiform scripts were deciphered. Right? We see here that the walls of Babylon were 360 furlongs in compass. So this is confirming again 360 days. Right? We see the zodiac of the Babylonians was divided into 36 decans, and a decan, right, or decan, being the space of the sun covered in relation to fixed stars during a 10-day period. However, the 36 decans, right, and basically breaking that down, 36 is equivalent to 360 decans, right, multiplied by 10. So you still get 360. Then we see here the Egyptians, right? It says here, the Egyptian year was composed of 360 days before it became 365 by the addition of 5 days. The calendar of Eber's papyrus or papyrus, a document of the New Kingdom, has a new year of 12 months of 30 days each. And then we see here it's making a reference of King Ptolemy, who conquered the Egyptians, who also was in connection with Alexander the Great, the Greeks, right? Party among the Egyptian priests met at Canopus and drew up a decree in 1866. It was discovered in Tanis in the Delta, inscribed on a tablet. The purpose of the decree was to harmonize the calendar with the seasons. But notice what it says here: according to the present arrangement of the world, as the text states, one day was ordered to be added every 4 years to the 360 days, and to the 5 days which were afterwards ordered to be added. So it's saying here that it was the Egyptian calendar was initially 365 days until Ptolemy demanded, he put in an edict, he commanded that they add 5 additional days to the calendar. All right. So now we get to Israel, right? Let's see what the source say about Israel. The month of the Israelites from the 15th to the 18th century before the present era was equal to 30 days, and 12 months comprised a year, right? There is no mention of months shorter than 30 days, nor of a year longer than 12 months. That the month was composed of 30 days and evidenced by Deuteronomy. We get some scripture reference here, and we have some of those sources here, where mourning for the dead is ordered for a full month and is carried on for 30 days. The story of the flood, as given in Genesis, reckons in months of 30 days. It says that 150 days passed between the 17th day of the second month and the 17th day. All right. So it's giving you some additional sources as we laying out this foundation that all the early ancient people, right, to different communities, 360 days. All right. 360 days. Right. 360 days. Right. 3 days, 3 nights. Right. And true talk, I see your question. I know the Bible says 3 days and 3 nights, but it also said he rose on the third day. Guess what? 3 full day cycles, right? That is the third day, just before the transition of the evening, right? He rose right at that point. That's still within 3 days on the third day, right? That's still on the third day. Don't, and I encourage you not to look too deep into it, because that can, be and cause an error there, because we're still in that day, right? 3 full day cycles on that point, right? If you go through that cycle, 3 full cycles, 72 hours, that's still considered 3 days, right? Once we get past that, now we get into, we start carrying over, right? So that's not what this is saying. He said, he made it clear, 3 days and 3 nights, right? 72 hours from the time that he gave up his spirit, 3 days, full 3 days, he rose. All right. So I encourage you not to look too deep into it. It's not complicated. It's very simple, family. All right. So let's go ahead and continue. Like Deuteronomy chapter 34, verse 8. And the children of Israel wept for Moses in the plains of Moab 30 days. So the days of weeping and mourning for Moses were ended. So for a full 30-day cycle, right? 24-hour cycle, they are weeping for Moses, right? Weeping. They're mourning for Moses. Then when we go to Deuteronomy 21:13, and she put the raiment of her captivity off from off her, and shall remain in thine house, and bewail her father and mother a full month, right? And after that shall go in unto her and be her husband, and she shall be thy wife. But notice what we see here. We see a full month. That's a full 30-day cycle is what we're referring to, what this text is referring to. You will not see a day more than 30 days far as a month, and you will not see it shorter than 30 days, right? 30-day months, you'll see all through the text. So additional proof of Israel's 360-day calendar, right? Let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 36, and let's see what it says here. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared of Yahweh, that they should feed her there 1,260 days, right? So when we do the math, this is what it actually is, 1,260 days. Now, if we divide that by 30, right? 30, right? The days in a month, we are going to come up with 42 months. That is 3.5 years, right? We have proof all through the text that Israel had 360 days for us years and 30-day months. So 42 times 12, divided by 12, is 3.5 years. So Israel used a 360-day year and 12 30-day month calendar. So now that we got that out the way, I know this is a lot of information for some of you guys, right? I know this is a lot of information for some of you guys, but let's now get into it. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. All right. All right, True Talk. I'm going to say it again. The book of Jubilees and the book of Enoch, and I'm not trying to get into all of this, but the book of Jubilees, the book of Enoch, I can show you the flaws in it, right? The book of Enoch, 364 days, even actually it's 354 days that it shows, but let's just go with 364 days. Anything that contradicts Torah, right? Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible and the prophets, Guess what? I do not put so much weight into some of the account there. So I'm gonna make it clear. I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna say this real quick, and I'm not gonna go back and forth with it. But show me a month that's less than 30 days. Show me a month that's more than 30 days. Show me an Israelite year that's less than 12 months, or that's more than 12 months. That's going to be the challenge. That's going to be the uphill battle that you're going to have. You're not going to find a month that's more than 30 days. So I want to be clear. I'm not, I want to make sure we clear here. So that's why I want to make it clear. See, I use those additional books as reference, right? There's some great historical information you can get out of it. But guess what? My weight, the weight that I put on it is the law and the prophets, right? The law, that's the foundation right there, right? Anything that contradicts that, I'm not going outside of there. Those other sources is cool, like the book of Jasher. Many use the book of Jasher. And I can say emphatically, both books of Jasher are forgeries, right? The true book of Jasher is not even enough to put together a full page of text. One book of Jasher was written by the Mormons, and the other book of Jasher was written by the Jewish community as we know it. One says that Moses' father-in-law, Jethro, is the son of Esau, while the other says Melchizedek is Shem. All right, so let's not be going to all this, posting all these other things here, because I don't want to confuse the people, and I don't want to have to stop what I'm doing in my teaching to give clarity. So I don't, and this is being respectful and moderators. If those are posting things that can be confusing and take away from the lesson, put them in timeout. And if they continue to do it, remove them, because that's that can be disrespectful when you're teaching. If you're in school and the teacher's teaching, you're not going to bring up or push any other material that can be a contradictory to what the teacher is teaching. Let's be respectful here. Let me put it out of here. All right. So this is why I want to just make it clear, family. That's why I'm removing this person, because this person is not coming in to do any type of learning. This person is coming in to be argumentative. All right. So I put them out, moderators, so that way we can focus on what we're focusing on. All right. So I just noticed that person. I'm putting them out of here. And this is why I say, family, this is why we have so many challenges of trying to come together as a people, because we're so disrespectful when it comes to one another. Now, how come that brother and other people like him, how come they won't go to the Jewish community websites and challenge them like that? They don't do that. They won't go to their teachings and challenge their teachings. Always have to come over to our own people and disrespect. I've sat in teachings that I disagree with and still respected the teacher. Didn't make it a point to be disruptive. Right? So I'm going to say this again, family. The Torah, the first 5 books, and that's what the Messiah used, the first 5 books and the prophets, the first 5 books, that is foundational. If we don't listen to Moses, as the Messiah said, what makes me think the people want to listen to the Messiah? That's what the Messiah said. Hey, if you're not listening to Moses, if you didn't listen to him, what makes you think you want to listen to me? So, family, this is a prime example. This is why it's hard for us to get ahead in the community, because we have people like that want to come on other platforms to try to build a name or prove points. That's not what it's about, family. It's all about edifying. And this is why that's why this awakening can be very brutal for those that are making the transition from the church. This is why, many from within Christianity are finding it scary or hard or hesitant of making that transition because some of the things that we see here, not using proper etiquettes. But let's go ahead and get back into it, family. My apologies for the distraction, but let's go ahead and get back into it. Let me go ahead and bring my animation out here. You guys know this is my animation for whenever we have to deal with stuff like that. Let me just pull this animation up and then we'll get right back into it. Where is it? I thought I had it. Here it is. Right there. All right. But anyway, family, let's go ahead and get back into it. Now we're going to go ahead with laying the foundation. We laid the foundation of 360 days in the calendar year. I have plenty of other sources I can share, but just for the sake of the presentation, I gave you a key source and vet the source, right? And I just highlighted just a few, but there's plenty that we can prove that 360 day one calendar and also 30 days, 12-month calendars, or 12-month, 30-day, 12-month calendar. All right, here we go. So let's go ahead and start with the first portion of reconstructing the first year of the Hebrew calendar. All right, here we go. To do that, it starts by identifying the first Shabbat. Let me say that again. In order to reconstruct the original Hebrew calendar, I'm going to show you with scripture that we can do it with scripture. See, family, I stand firm on all the Dabar HaKodesh, which is the holy word. I've had so many people challenge me and say, hey, you can't get everything from out of the scriptures like the Catholic Church teach and Christianity truly teach, right? Everything you can think of is inside the scriptures, the holy text. So I'm going to show you with the holy text, we are going to reconstruct the very first calendar of our ancestors, the very first calendar that they used. Here we go. Let's identify. We got to find we got to use a starting point that we can build from. So here's the starting point. Let's go to Exodus chapter 16, verse 1. Exodus chapter 16, verse 1. Notice what it says. And they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel, in other words, all the witnesses of the children of Israel, came into the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after their departing out of the land of Egypt. Now, in order for us to really use a starting point that we can build from, we're going to use this as that starting point because we have a key nugget here. We have the second month and we have the 15th day of the second month. Now the challenge is to determine what day did the 15th day fall on. Here we go. On the 15th day of the second month. So what's the significance about the 15th day? Here it is. Israel arrived in the wilderness of Sin, right, on the 15th day of the second month. Is the 15th day a day of rest? That's the question I have to answer. Is the 15th day a day of rest? Well, when we go to Exodus 16, verse 4 and 5, notice this. Then Yahweh said unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no. Let me read it one more time. Then said Yahweh unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no. Verse 5, and it shall come to pass that on the 6th day they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. So the 15th day, guess what? The 15th day of the second month is a Shabbat, right? Because they rested, they stopped moving forward on the Shabbat. And Moses gave them instructions on what to do for the next week, for the next 6 days, or what to do, as we just highlighted here, right? But let me show you here. Let's put it on the calendar. So we identified in the second month, on this 15th day, this is where Israel stopped. This is where Moses gave them their instructions on the Shabbat. He gave them their instructions on what to do for the next upcoming week. So the 15th day of the second month, right? That's Exodus 16:1. The children of Israel came into the wilderness of Sin, right? And this is where they camped in this particular area. So on the 15th day, Moses shared with Israel what to expect on the next day. Notice this. And Moses, Maresha, and Aharon said unto the children of Israel, at even, right, Arab, then ye shall know that Yahweh hath brought you out from the land of Egypt. He said at evening. Now we're dealing with the twilight of the day, that transition of going from the day portion and concluding one day, a full 24-hour cycle. Now they're getting ready to go into another day, the first day of the week, right? And I'm going to give you an illustration here. And in the morning, then ye shall see the glory, kabawad, of Yahweh, the glory, the reputation, the power, right? For that he heareth Shemai, your murmuring against Yahweh. And what are we that ye murmur against us? Right? So the Most High, right? He in spite of them complaining, they're murmuring, not moving forward, the Most High said he's going to prove to them, he's going to show them that his reputation behind his name is true. So the Hebrew definition of murmur, for many of you guys that may not know, when you murmur, each time Israel murmured, they complained that they would not move forward. They would not go. They stopped. They're not doing it. They're not going to make any progress. They're not going into the promised land. So each time they made this declaration, the Most High was saying enough is, it finally said enough is enough. Now notice this is before they were officially given the 10 commandments. So right now you're going to see that the Most High gave them leeway. Then once he gave them those 10 commandments, now they were officially on the clock. Then eventually the Most High said enough is enough, called them a wicked congregation or a group of witnesses. But nevertheless, we see here to stoop, to stay permanently, to be obstinate, abide, in other words, all night, grudge, make to murmur, remain. So Israel was complaining that they're not going anywhere. They're not moving. They're not going to progress because they complaining that they want to eat. They complaining that they want things to be a certain way before they continue, before they allow the Most High to continue to lead them through Moses. So at evening, Arab, then ye shall know that Yahweh hath brought you out from the land of Egypt. Right? Let's go back to, remember, our calendar here, right? Remember our dial. Let me move this here so I can see, right? I want you guys to pay attention. The Quap, right? The ancient letter. This gives you a full understanding, right? Day, Yawam, the 9th hour. Remember 6-hour gap between of the ahead of the Gregorian calendar. Evening, Arab. Night, Lai or La Yala, right? Morning, right? Which is Bakar. So this dial all the way around from evening to evening represents a full cycle. So I just want to give you this illustration here. All right. So, all right, let's continue here. So at even, then ye shall know that Yahweh hath brought you. So what it's saying at evening, now this is going into what? The first day of the week. He's saying at evening, in other words, at the first day of the week, the Most High is going to prove himself. He's going to give you the sign. He's going to give you proof. He's going to give you evidence. So at evening, that's why I'm giving you the illustration. This tip of this sundial, the quap, right? Balance. Evening. At even, then ye shall know that Yahweh hath brought you. So Moses and Aaron went before Israel and declared Yah's promise and instructions. So in evening, right? In the evening, Arab, Yahweh will use his provision. He would use his power. He would use his authority to prove that it was he who saved them and brought them out of the land of the Egyptian slavery. In the morning, Bakar, Yahweh would use his provision to prove his glory. So notice this on the next day. So the 15th is a Shabbat, right? The 16th is the next day. This is beginning the first day of the week where Israel's going to what? Gather. The Most High is going to give them the sign, and they're going to have to what? Gather for the next 6 days, right? So on the 15th day of the second month, that's a Shabbat, right? The instructions were given. Israel made camp there. They rested there. But Moses said at the evening of this day, right? At the evening, right? The beginning portion of this day, ye shall know that Yahweh hath brought you, right? The evening of the 16th day begins at sundown, which would be equivalent to 6 p.m. Of the Shabbat, on the 15th day, if we looked at it from the Gregorian calendar. So this would be the evening. So at the end of, or 6 p.m. on the 15th, right? Transitioning from there will transition you into the 16th day. That's all I'm saying. So the evening of the 16th day begins at sundown, 6 p.m. of the Shabbat, the end of the Shabbat, which would be on the 15th. All right. So I just want to give you an illustration, right? Let you see visuals. So, and it came to pass that at even, let's go to the text. And it came to pass that at evening, this is the signs, the quails came up and covered the camp. And in the morning, the dew lay round about the host. So at evening, as soon as that dial turned, now the quails came up. That's a miracle, right? And I'm going to show you. It came to pass that on the 6th day, right? On the 15th day of the second month, Israel was given instructions for the upcoming 7 days. They were instructed to work the next 6 days, gather double on the 6th day, and rest on the 7th day. See, on the 16th day of the second month, Israel witnessed the miracles of Yah. He executed his instructions. Well, they executed Yah's instructions and began to gather manna for the next 6 days. So again, give you an illustration here. Just want to make sure you guys understand. And going right back here to seeing this dial here, just to make sure you understand. At this evening, moment that dial turned over to that evening, now we're going into another day. It says it came to pass that at even the quails came up. So at the turn of that dial at evening, the quails came up. The quails came a miraculous migration here. So when we go to Numbers chapter 11, to further give you clarity and explain this here, this miracle, Numbers chapter 11, verse 31, let's see what it says. And there went forth a wind from Yahweh and brought quails from the sea. So this is a migration, and let them fall by the camp as it were a day's journey on this side, and as it were a day's journey on the side, on the other side, round about the camp, and as it were 2 cubits high upon the face of the earth. So again, a wind, rawak, from Yahweh brought the quails, shalah, right, from the sea. This is describing a quail migration, right? Let me give you some history here. Now, I know this may hurt some of the feelings of some of our brothers and sisters who are teaching that we are not supposed to eat chicken, right? They're coming up with all kinds of stuff saying chicken is, unclean bird, all kinds of stuff, fam. I'm not going to reteach that, but I encourage you to watch the lesson I did titled Taste Like Chicken, right? But let's go ahead and get into it. All right. Let's get into it. Let me give you a couple of sources. August marks the start of the annual migration of millions of birds from their European breeding areas to their wintering grounds in Africa. Many will fly across the eastern Mediterranean towards Egypt, where they will land exhausted on a coast along which hundreds of kilometers of trappers' nets have been spanned to create almost unbroken walls of death on the seaside dunes. These nets will catch at least 140 million birds this year, according to one biologist's estimate. More than 1 in 20 of the migrant birds leaving Europe for Africa, right? So there is an ancient Israel city, right? We already proved that, that there are quail do migrate to that part of Africa where we're dealing with Egypt and all that. But let me give you some additional history, because there is an ancient city in the territory of Judah where people decided to eat chicken. They went for the chicken there, right? Because we know chicken and quail are part of the same bird, right? Not getting into that, but let me show you here. 2 Chronicles chapter 14, verse 10, right? And there came out against them Zerah, the Ethiopian, Kawashai, or Kushi is in the Israeli pronunciation, or again, Kawashai, with an host of 1,000 and 300 chariots, and came unto Maresha, right? Or Maresha, right? That's the ancient pronunciation of it. And then Asa went out against them, and they set the battle in array in the valley of Zephathah at Maresha, right? So let me show you some here. After 10 years of peace, Judah, Yehoiada, was invaded by Zerah, the Cushite. With Yah's help, right, Asa achieved a stunning victory over the invaders. This victory occurred in Maresha. This is the ancient Israelite city of Judah, where Judah ate plenty of chicken. Let me say that again. Where Judah ate plenty of chicken. Let me say it one more time, right? For the people in the back, because I know some people, man, they get upset, man. This is why many of our brothers and sisters, some, I'm not going to say a lot, but some don't want to hear or have certain feelings towards me, because I'm going to just teach the truth. I'm not going to deal with all the other stuff. I'm teaching truth. I'm not getting into all this conspiracy stuff. I'm teaching the truth according to the Dabar HaKodesh. So this ancient city of Judah, right, where Judah, guess what? Our ancestors, Yehoiada, these guys ate plenty of chicken.
What?
That's right. They had their 3-piece. Right? They ate it at home, and they took their orders to go as well. All right. Just wanted to add a little humor here. But this ancient Israelite city of Judah, where Yehoiada, the Judeans, right, they ate plenty of chicken. Right? Here's another source. The ancient city where people decided to eat chickens. An ancient abandoned city in Israel was revealed. Part of the story of how the chicken turned into one of the pillars of the modern Western diet. The city, now an archaeological site, is called Maresha. It flourished in the Hellenistic period from 400 to 200 BCE. The surprising thing was not that chickens lived there. There's evidence that humans have kept chickens around for thousands of years, starting in Southeast Asia and China. But those older sites contain just a few scattered chicken bones. Let me read this part again. But those older sites contain just a few scattered chicken bones. People were raising those chickens for cockfighting or for special ceremonies, right? But that's not here. The birds here And Maresha says the birds apparently weren't considered much of a food, right? For over there, right? And initially in Maresha. But it says in Maresha, though something changed, it says something shifted, right? The site contained more than 1,000 chicken bones. Come on, family. You know that we know we the people of the book. It said that the site contained over 1,000 chicken bones, right? They were very, very well preserved. Come on, man. Y'all know, man, my grandmother didn't play, man. My grandmother did not play. You left meat on the bone, she would take that bone off your plate and say, you done left meat on the bone. She'd take that thing down to the gristle. She'd make that thing look like it's a fossil, like you could put it up in the museum. You clean the bone off when the bones start looking white. That's how my grandmother ate the bone, took every bit of meat, took every bit of whatever you want to call it off that bone to the point that bone was like straight white when it dried out. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. Don't act brand new, because some of you guys probably do the same with that chicken bone. But it says here the site contained more than 1,000 chicken bones. Right, this is a city that was under Judah's control. Right, this site contained more than 1,000 chicken bones. They were very, very well preserved. Preserved, says Perigal, whose findings appeared in the proceedings of the National Academy of Science. Perigal could see knife marks on them from butchering. Wait a minute, they saw knife marks on these chicken bones from them cutting up these chickens. There were twice as many bones from female birds as male. These chickens apparently were being raised for their meat, not for cockfighting. So did Judah break the law by eating chicken? No. See how we kind of killed two birds with one stone? No pun intended. All right. So what day was the resurrection? So family, guess what? We identified one Shabbat, right? So we're going to use this as a point that we can stop at, because next portion will take us another hour and a half to 2 hours. And so this is a great point to stop at. And we're going to just stop here. We identified one Shabbat on that second month. Now we have another Shabbat that we're going to identify in the same text to show that we can identify two Shabbats, and then we're going to recreate the calendar, the very first calendar of our ancient relatives. All right. So I hope this helps you, family. And we're going to continue to throw inside the garbage can, poor doctrine. We're going to throw it in the garbage can right now, because there's a lot of poor doctrine that our brothers and sisters just don't want to be freed from, to be liberated from. So let's throw that stuff in the garbage right now. All right. Let's just throw these false prophets, these false teachers, the doctrines, the religions of Christianity and Catholicism. Let's throw it in the garbage can right now, because they have done a lot to hurt our people and still hurting our people. And let's give them their order to go. Right. Actually, let's give them a 3-piece. Give them a side. And let's give them their order to go. Well, family, I really appreciate you guys. We will do part 3 tomorrow night, and we will try to conclude the lesson tomorrow night. So we have a lot to cover. And I appreciate you guys for taking the time out of your schedule to watch this presentation. Really appreciate you. And as Moses said to the children of Israel, and as we get ready to go into transition into the Shabbat, I want to say this to you guys: be encouraged. Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 to 14. Fear ye not, stand still. See the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today, you will never have to deal with them ever again. It will not be a problem to us ever again. Will not have strongholds over us ever again. The Most High will fight for us. But here's the kicker, family. We have to hold our peace. Can't go back. Can't stay here. keep moving forward. Let me say it one more time. Can't go back, can't stay here. And family, we have to do exactly what Moses encouraged the people to do. We have to continue to keep moving forward. Shalom.